I came to China 15 years ago. Actually, I came earlier for a visit, but then I came here 15 years ago. My university sent me here for the exchange program to study Chinese because it was part of my education.
I've actually been traveling around China for about 1 month prior to when I actually came to Beijing. And Beijing was the last city that I visited before heading back to the UK. And I just loved the city. And I also had some friends who were also teaching English as a foreign language here in Beijing. And they were encouraging me to come out and give it a go. So I decided to come here because I knew the city and I had some contacts already in Beijing.
Before I was working in Turkey, and I decided that after Turkey I wanted something a bit more busy, because the city that we were in Turkey, it was very small and there weren't many foreigners there, so we decided to come to the biggest city that we could think of. So we came to Beijing, and I've always been interested in the history, and obviously there's many things here that we wanted to see, like the wall and other things. So we decided on China.
Honestly, my fiance had worked in Shanghai before, and he really liked living in China. And so he came home, and then we came here together. And I didn't understand why he wanted to come back to China, but I understand now. Like, the expat life is very nice. We're treated really well. We get to do really interesting things. Our standard of living is much better here than it was back in the United States. We have a lot more opportunity here in China, and there's just lots of things for us to do here. The culture is nice, the food is really good, and there's a need for English teachers here. So.
I just wanted to experience something new, just kind of find a new way of life, and I know I got the opportunity to come here, and I just kind of took the risk, and I think it worked out for the better.
I've been in Beijing for 5.5 years, and how many years am I going to stay is a little bit of a difficult question to answer, because when I originally came, I only intended on staying for a year, but I loved it so much. I loved the work, I loved the city, I had a great lifestyle, so I decided to stay. And ever since, when it comes to thinking about whether I want to stay or go back to the UK, I always decide that I have a good thing going here, so I decide to stay.
We've been here for 2 years, and we're going to stay here for a few more years because there's lots of different places in China, and we want to live in as many different places as possible within China, so we'll be here for a while.
I've been here for about 1.5 years. I got here in August 2013, and I don't really have a plan as to how long I'll be here, but for the foreseeable future, I'm definitely going to be here. So.
Because the culture is really different than what we're used to in the United States, and so every day is like a new challenge. Every day is we learn something new, and in the classroom, in our workplace, we learn something new every day, and outside of work especially, trying to adjust still, even after 3 years, it's still learning something different every single day. So it's really fulfilling in this way.
I really like the lifestyle. It's very different to my lifestyle in the UK. I find that being in Beijing, it's a very safe city. There's a lot of opportunities, and there's things that I can do here that I can't do back in the UK in terms of the places that I'll be able to visit, the travel opportunities. So it's just more of a variety.
It's been brilliant so far. Everything that we've done so far has either been listened to or has been taken on board. Everything that we've suggested has worked really well. I feel like the lesson plans are really good, and that I can actually express myself in the classroom, and we can get on and do exactly what we want to do and what we know needs to be done within the classroom confines. And I think that's brilliant. I think it's really good.
So I've been working here the entire time that I've lived in China, and I'm really glad that I have. We have health insurance, which is more than a lot of schools offer. They support our visas, and there's a lot of room to grow. There's a lot of room for advancement. Currently, I'm studying to become a Montessori teacher, so it's been really nice working for this company.
The feeling of knowing that you made a difference. So when you see their improvements and you know for a fact that the reason they know something is because you taught this thing to them. I think that's probably the most rewarding thing, is knowing that you're making a difference in this person's life.
I like that we're one of the first teachers that children have. First they have their parents as their teachers, and then they have us. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's very gratifying in that the things that they know is from you. And so in general, they're always happy, and they're like little sponges, and they absorb so much information, and it's a very rapid time for their development right now, and it's really interesting to see that.
It starts off where they don't speak anything, and it's really frustrating, and you're trying weeks and weeks and weeks just to get them to say good morning to you in the morning, and eventually something just clicks and they'll just turn around and say good morning, and then eventually it'll be how are you, and they'll be like, oh, I'm happy, and then soon you'll be having simple conversations with them, but you get to realise that this is not just somebody that you're teaching, it's a little person, and they have their own opinions, and you start to remember that when you were in your own country and you listened to the children what they were saying, it was funny, but because you're in a different country you don't understand. But when they start to speak English, you have that whole thing again where you remember that children are so funny, and you get to hear exactly what they think and everything. It's just amazing.
There's a really big need for it here, and in general, people really appreciate the work that we do teaching English. I'm always approached to practice English on the street by others, and in general, people really want to learn English. They see a benefit in it, and so there's just a really big need.
I think it is really important to learn the language because, for Western people or foreigners, it is really hard without understanding the language. It is hard for them to understand the culture, and it is hard for them, without knowing the language, it is hard for them to become friends with the Chinese.
Say that when you do eventually arrive, you need to give yourself an adjustment period, because obviously things are very different to back home. But by all means, I would encourage you to read up on China and get more of an understanding of what you're going to be thrust into. Because just having some appreciation of the culture and the different way things are done, it can help you out when you do eventually arrive. It's something that I haven't given much consideration to, but obviously I'm aware that there's a lot of services which cater to expats with young families, and there's plenty of resources here in China. But I guess if you are considering of raising a family in China, there's great opportunities for your children in terms of exposure to a new culture, a new language. There's great travel opportunities, and there's some really fun things to do around China, not just Beijing, but other cities, going into the countryside. You get a feel of the different landscapes and also the differences between different regions.